Scale of what they were faced with was immediately clear. The south wing had collapsed completely.
Oh my God! It's Zoom! And this is a story of the shopping mall that killed 502 people. And bro, that is a crazy kill streak for an inanimate object, bro. What the hell?
June 29th, 1995, 2 p.m., Socho District, Seoul, South Korea.
Okay, we in
The
Korea?
Sampoong department store was, by any measure, having a good day. 40,000 shoppers moved through its 5 floors. Families drifted between clothing racks. Teenagers crowded the food court. Children pressed their hands against the glass display cases near the entrance.
That's like a real-life mall.
Unbeknownst to them, up above, on the 5th floor, the mall's top executives were having a meeting to decide their fate.
No, they're having a meeting to see how much money can we extract out of everybody in this building, bro. Don't get it twisted. They want this whole conversation is about money, bro. I promise you.
The suits sat around a table in one of the management offices. Chairman Lee Jun and his son, the store's president, were presiding over the meeting. The building's cooling systems had been switched off roughly an hour earlier, and the hot air in the room had gone completely still. Spread across the table in front of them were maintenance logs, photographs, and handwritten warnings. Everyone presented their conflicting ideas of what to do with the situation at hand, but Chairman Lee Jun shut the conversation down, rose from the table, and delivered his instruction. The mall would stay open.
See, it's always, and I'm telling you, bro, I feel like with every one of those like corporate board meetings, bro, not meetings. Oh my God, what am I talking about? There is like an evil villain in every one. Every CEO, every executive, you might be an evil villain, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I don't know. You gotta prove me
Escalators
wrong.
would keep running, the employees would keep working, and most importantly, the happy shoppers would keep spending their money. Then, at 5:40 p.m., without a word to anyone, the executives walked out of the building to safety and left thousands of customers and employees to die.
What?
The story does not begin with that.
Bro, this had to have been a ritual. Like, there ain't no way.
That meeting, it had been building since early that morning. Let's get into it.
This is crazy.
At 8:05 a.m., the facility manager at Sampoong department store unfolded a handwritten note from the night shift security guard. It said there was a loud cracking noise coming from the roof. The manager read it twice, then he folded the note, put it in his pocket, and went upstairs. At 10:02 a.m., he arrived.
I ain't gonna lie, if that was me, I would have read the note, folded it up in my pocket, and kept sitting down and reading my newspaper. You're not about to get me killed, bro. I don't get paid enough for that. You feel me?
The food court, which spanned the entirety of the 5th floor, the top floor of the building. By the time he got there, part of the restaurant area had already been closed to the public after staff noticed large cracks running around one of the main concrete columns that's...
Hey, they wrong. Nah, this whole establishment is violated, bro. So y'all mean to tell me, so I can't go see the cracks? Because, so y'all close off the area to prevent me from seeing the cracks? Not to keep me safe, right? Because I feel like if you wanted to keep me safe, you would have closed the damn mall down. But so why are we hiding the cracks? So I can't have my common sense and be like, okay, let me see. What's up here? Oh, wow. We have cracks on these columns? Huh. I guess I'll just keep shopping. No! I'm never doing that, bro, in no universe. This is ridiculous.
Supported that floor, but the rest of the department store stayed open. The manager crouched down to get a closer look at the damage. Some of the cracks were wide enough to slide a finger into.
What?
He knew the building well enough to understand.
They can't see it from upstairs? I mean, from downstairs?
What he was looking at. The upper floors depended heavily on columns like this one to carry the load. If one of them started to fall, there was no telling what could happen.
Oh, no.
He then moved up to the roof and saw that the concrete there had split in several places with long
Oh my God! And you're hearing cracking on the roof? Bro, I'm leaving. I swear, I'm not putting it in 2 weeks. I'm not doing none of that. I'm literally putting the security hat on the table and I'm walking out the door, bro. Like, I'm not even sticking around for that. What you want me to do? You feel me? If this building come down, if I stand outside, I'm still gonna get hit. I'm going home. Come on, bro.
Across the surface, some areas had sunk lower than others. He worked his way back through the upper levels, speaking to maintenance.
And that's a big ass mall. Oh my God.
Staff and checking every area that had been flagged. The crew had already moved heavy furniture away from the worst cracks, filed their reports, and put up caution tape to keep the damage out of view from customers. They wouldn't want to alarm them. This would be the first of many unfortunate choices made that day that would eventually result in a horrific tragedy, the likes of which the country had never seen. At 10:03 a.m., with the restaurant section still cordoned off, the rest of Sampung opened as usual. But by midday, the problem was no longer confined to the upper floors. A deep bang echoed through the building, loud enough that shoppers on the lower levels paused and looked around.
Nah, y'all ain't got it. Y'all don't have the awareness that you need to survive, bro. A large sound, and you think I'm gonna stop? Okay, what was that sound, y'all? That was so loud. Bro, I'm pushing people out the way. I'm finna play football. I'm getting out the door. I'm leaving the establishment, bro, immediately. Come on, man.
It was something being dropped and kept moving. Meanwhile, staff on the upper floors could feel a faint vibration underfoot, and looking up, they could see fine dust shaking loose from the ceilings above them. Management closed off additional sections above, but the sales floor below still looked entirely normal. Customers kept moving through cosmetic counters and clothing racks. Most had no idea that the 5th floor was partially closed. The escalators were still running. The registers were still opening and shutting. Nothing raised any red flags, even for the workers, like 18-year-old store employee Lee Sun-min.
Dang, but she looked like a grown adult. Not 18, if you ask me.
Working what she planned to be her final shift before starting college later that summer.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry. Damn, dude.
Or like 19-year-old Yu Ji-hwan. For her, it was a normal day. She put on her nice shirt and went down to the basement level to start.
Wait, they're still alive, right?
Her shift in the home goods section, selling crystals. She had been working at this job for around 6 months. Except she heard a rumor that the 5th floor had sunken a bit. But since no one was being evacuated, she figured there was nothing to worry about.
Oh my God.
And instead just focused on getting through the day. At 12:30 p.m., the manager turned his attention to the roof equipment. He saw that the cracks had worsened since morning. The air conditioning units on the roof had been running all day. He ordered to shut them down. The hum that had run through the upper floors all morning went quiet, but it was far too late. The dust along the crack lines continued to fall. There was nothing anyone could do now to stop what was about to happen. On the 5th floor, heavy kitchen equipment like industrial ovens, massive room-sized refrigerators, and long cooking stations lined the restaurant. All of this was pressing down on a structure already strained by the weight on the rooftop. At 1:30 p.m., the manager went back up to the roof. The fractures had spread since his last visit.
Bro, if they spread like that, why are we still people in this mall?
Several had widened. Fine concrete powder gathered along
this
the
has to be illegal,
splits
bro.
where pieces of the roof were grinding against each other. This was the last warning sign for him. He picked up the phone and called his superiors directly, warning them that the building might be at risk. But the decision of what to do next was unfortunately not his to make. Perhaps if it had been, hundreds of lives could have been spared. At 2:00 p.m., the senior executives of Sampung Department Store gathered in a management office on the 5th floor for an emergency meeting. Reports were set across the table, maintenance logs, photos of the cracks, and notes from the facility manager. The air inside the room had gone still since the cooling units had been shut down, making them sweat. As they talked, they wondered why this could be happening. Back in 1987, when Lee Jun's company was constructing the structure that would later become this mall, the project had originally been approved as only a 4-story building for a different use. They decided to use the flat slab method to save money. It meant that the floors sat directly
GG. That's a big ass mall. You talk about saving money? Bro, it's over, bro.
On columns without thick crossbeams or a strong steel frame to spread the weight. In that kind of design, there is no backup support, and every column has to be perfect. If one fails, the load has nowhere else to go. But halfway through construction, the owners made a major decision to convert it into a department store instead. That decision forced
Bruh. You see, like, this is crazy, man. It's like, come on, you have to be an evil villain in the, as a CEO something. You feel me? Because, like, how do you, like, you know somebody told you not to do this and you did it anyway. So, like, you gotta be some type of evil, bro, working up in these little environments.
Engineers to modify the design. An additional floor was added, and extensive modifications were made to the gray structure.
Wow.
The redesign pushed the total floor area from the originally intended 720,000 square feet to nearly 800,000. The building now had to support thousands of shoppers, restaurants, and heavy retail equipment, far beyond what the original structure had been designed for.
And it's crazy, too, because I don't know of a single mall that looks like that. You feel me? Like, that's just one big square building. Man, what? Like, come on.
Worse, these particular columns had been built smaller than the design required. The original blueprint specified columns 79 centimeters thick. However, during construction in 1988, that number was reduced by a quarter, down to 58.
Bro, so you mean to tell me you added another floor and you, come on, cheaping out, bro, you cheaping.
To cut construction costs. On top of that, the columns were spread out further than intended, nearly 11
Like, bro, the cost was already cut. Why are you trying to cut them again? Like, man, come on, bro.
meters apart from each other, as per Chairman Lee Jun's orders. More space between columns meant more room for shops, which meant more rental income. It also meant that each column...
So you mean to tell me some executive, or chairman, whatever he was, said, we need another floor and make the pillars smaller so we can save money? Ain't no way in the world. There had to been, bro, where the laws at? We ain't got no laws to stop. Like, come on, man. You ain't got no qualification.
Was being asked to carry an enormous share of the building's total load, with no margin for error. Even though the changes pushed the building beyond its original load limits, the plan still received approval from the local government office in Siocho District.
Wow.
Somehow.
Siocho District,
resistance from the engineers themselves.
Crazy, bro.
Woo-Sung Construction, the firm that was hired to construct the original design, refused to carry out the changes. Their engineers reviewed the new plans and told Lee Jun that the redesign posed serious structural risks. The modified building...
So like I said, this goes back to my previous point, bro. Every CEO, chairman, whoever, doctor, evil, I don't know. They evil, bro. They all evil, man. Every little, because he was, like I said, he was told that, hey, man, this is a bad idea. Don't do it. He said, you know what? I don't care. We need another floor. We need more shoppers. We need more money. Like, bro, come on.
Would not hold, they said. Lee dismissed them and brought in his own company to carry out the changes, including the addition of the 5th floor.
Wow.
The problems stacked up from there. Turning the building into a department store meant installing escalators on every floor.
See, that's my question. How does somebody like who can make a decision that's so stupid end up with so much money? Like, come on, man.
To do that, workers cut huge holes through each concrete slab. Every cut removed structural support from the floors. The building also ran into zoning issues. Structures of that size were not supposed to operate entirely as department stores. Lee found a workaround. He ordered the addition of a skating rink on the brand new 5th floor. But later, he changed his mind again. The skating rink never opened.
Bro, how much money does this dude have, bro? How much money does this evil dude have, bro? Come on.
Before long, it was converted into a cluster of restaurants, their kitchens heated by hot water pipes laid directly beneath the floor surface. This was another critical mistake, as the heavy kitchen equipment and the thick concrete required for the underfloor heating created a far greater weight burden than the skating rink ever would have. And just to make things even worse, the 5th floor had another design flaw. The columns on that floor did not line up with the columns beneath them.
Bro, get me out. I'm never going to the... Bro, who would ever go to this mall, bro? Why would you ever go to this mall? That's why I started cracking.
In a properly engineered structure, columns stack vertically so that weight travels in a straight line from the uppermost floor down through every level to the foundation. In Sampung, the load transferred sideways through the concrete slab before reaching the next column down, putting even more stress on the columns and floor of the 5th level. Despite all these reckless changes, the building still made it through approval and opened to the public in 1990. And
so wait, this wasn't something made when you was building the building. This was on the blueprints? Man, come on, bro. Hey, somebody please tell me who in jail for this. I need to know who. We need to know who in jail for this.
How it got away with all the violations lies in the timing. South Korea in the late 1980s was building fast. The economy was booming. Cities were expanding. New businesses were opening. And malls were suddenly everywhere. Then came the 1988 Olympics in Seoul. Hosting the games meant massive projects everywhere. Stadiums, hotels, roads, and shopping centers for tourists. Deadlines were tight, and projects piled on top of each other. In favor of rapid development, building codes were often poorly enforced, inspections were rushed, and violations were brushed off just so projects could be finished on schedule. Cutting corners was being rewarded. Still, the mall stood with no impeding signs of danger for 5 straight years. So what was causing the cracks to appear now?
But you know who doesn't cut corners?
But you know who hey, that's my line. Not another one. Bro.
Yeah, I know. I can see every ad. I got a Sharingan for them ads, boy. I ain't gonna lie. I got a Sharingan for them ads. Yep.
Back in the meeting, one executive recalled the relocation of the giant air conditioning units from 2 years ago. Not only did the units add additional weight, but residents in nearby apartments had complained about loud—
So the air conditioning units wasn't even— oh no, shit. Hey, come on, man, because you know, when I play Batman, like the Batman games, when you look at the blueprints, they have air conditioning units on the blueprints, bro. So these wasn't even on the blueprints either. Yeah, nah. Hey, Chairman Lee June, whoever your name is, you evil, bro. I hope you're behind bars.
So the management decided to move them away from the apartments, but they chose the cheaper option.
But actually, I ain't gonna lie. If you give me $1 billion, I'll let you go. If you give me one of your billions, I know you got many billions of dollars, I'll let you go for free. Yeah.
Instead of hiring a crane again to lift the heavy equipment safely, workers dragged the units across the roof over the concrete surface.
So, what the fuck? I know this is not like normal. First off, I know y'all 4 little niggas ain't pick up that, move that big thing. Pause, please. I'm sorry. Oh, nah, bro. Nah, something ain't right here. Yeah.
Those units weighed over 36 tons. The large tanks alongside them held roughly 87 tons of coolant. That is equivalent to 30 adult elephants being dragged.
Wow. What? What?
Dragged across a concrete roof. The massive weight gouged the surface and left cracks in several places. When the air conditioning units were powered on again, they vibrated constantly. The vibrations traveled through the damaged roof, down through the mismatched and undersized columns, and into the rest of the structure. One column in particular took the worst of it, column 5E on the 5th floor. That was the column the facility manager had been looking at since 8:05 that morning. The damage had been building for years.
Wow.
At 4:00 p.m., the facility manager came rushing into the meeting with an update. His face was pale as he reported that the cracks around column 5E had widened to 4 inches since his first inspection that morning. The structural engineer who had led the completion of the mall's construction was in the room. After hearing the facility manager's report, he immediately advised the entire store be closed without any delay. But Chairman Lee—
Y'all see why I blame all the problems on billionaires, bro? Because they have so much money that they can literally do whatever they want. They can get past every law they want. Nothing applies to them. They can pay their way out of every situation. I don't ever want that much money, bro. Please. Oh my
refused
God.
to consider his warning. The crowd that day was unusually large and, therefore, more profitable. By 5:00 p.m., workers on the 5th floor could see the ceiling visibly sinking.
What?
They cleared up—
And y'all stayed up in there? If you go to a mall and you see this in the ceiling, shit, if you're in your house and you look up and you see that in the ceiling, are you finna stay up in your house? No, I hope not. I hope you wouldn't. Cause come on, bro. What?
the remaining area on that level, leaving the 5th floor closed off entirely. 4 floors below, the sales floor stayed open, business as usual. Stores were busy, but after over 4 hours of no air conditioning, the heat in the building was starting to get to people. Staff like
Oh my God, you know what's crazy? No heat in a tight space, that just equals funky niggas, bro. Funkiness.
Sung-Yun, a 19-year-old
Damn, bro.
shop assistant, were starting to sweat through their uniforms. When she asked management about the AC, they told her it wasn't working, but would be fixed soon. And it—
Hold on. They turned the AC off. So they turned it off because of the cracks. And they let people stay in. Bro. Oh my God. This is so sad, bro.
advised her to just continue with her work. Because the heat wasn't stopping shoppers like Lee Gun-suk. She was a 44-year-old housewife who had stepped out that afternoon with a neighbor to buy groceries for dinner. Sampung was near her apartment building, and when she entered the supermarket on the mall's ground floor, apart from the heat, nothing seemed off. But up above, more loud bangs came from the 5th floor ceiling as the roof cracked further. To Lee Sun-min, it sounded like a huge explosion. By 5:40 p.m., the executives quietly gathered their things and left the building as the upper floors continued to groan and pop under the weight above. More and more fine concrete dust drifted down from the cracks. Several thousand people were still inside the building, shopping, eating in the basement food court, and moving between floors on the escalators.
Several thousand?
First-year university student Choi Myung-suk had spent the afternoon working in the children's shoe section. At around 5:45 p.m., he went down to the basement to grab something to eat. 18-year-old Lee Sun-min was still on her shift on the first basement floor when a coworker called her over to the other wing of the store. She started to head there and entered the passageway connecting the wings. Meanwhile, 19-year-old Yoo Ji-hwan was still selling crystal.
Bro, she literally looks like she's an actor. This looks like something out of like a TV show, bro.
In the basement when she heard a loud bang. Everything shook like an earthquake and then went silent. A moment later, at 5:52 p.m., a deep fracture tore through the structure from above. The roof
Oh
gave
my
way
God!
first, overloading the 5th floor, which consequently dropped into the 4th, and the force kept punching down, floor after floor, collapsing into the basement in under 20 seconds. Lights cut out as escalators twisted, and a wall of pulverized concrete and dust rushed through the building's.
Bro, nah, this is crazy, dude. If you were on any of these floors right here where my mouse at, man, that is not good.
So fast that most people did not understand what was happening until they were already under the rubble.
Wow.
And just like that, almost 1,500 people were trapped in an instant. For Yoo Ji-hwan, everything went pitch black. She was trapped in the rubble, shaped like a dome above her. She tried yelling for help, but all she got was silence in response. Concrete dust and smoke filled her lungs with every breath. The darkness was so complete that Lee Sun-min couldn't see her own hands in front of her. Seconds after the impact.
Bro, realistically, what are y'all doing in that situation, bro? Like, seriously, like, genuinely, don't lie. Be honest in the comments, bro. I want to see. Because me personally, I don't know, bro. I don't know. I feel like my brain just would have went dark and I would have went into like ultimate survival mode, bro. I ain't gonna lie. I've done that before. I remember when I was like a kid, bro, we went on this field trip. I slid down a mountain for no reason. It's middle of the night. We supposed to be sleeping. I'm sliding down mountains. I don't know how I got back. All I remember is I got back, bro. I don't know.
A violent pressure wave moved through the broken structure, carrying debris and sound and a heat she could not explain. When it finally stopped, she could hear screaming from somewhere above her and from somewhere below.
That would be so crazy,
in the north
bro.
Wing was filled.
Like, no, that would literally sound like something out of a gory anime, bro. Like something out of a movie. You just, ooh, I don't want to think about that, bro.
With rubble, leaving her no way out. Rescue crews reached the site within minutes of the collapse, digging into the rubble with bare hands and whatever tools they had with them. They couldn't use their heavy equipment without the risk of harming potential survivors. The scale of what they were faced with was immediately clear. The south wing had collapsed completely.
Oh my God! I might be a little slow. Bro, I'm sitting, bro. It took me like 10 seconds to realize what happened in this picture. I'm looking at this. I'm literally looking like in my head, I'm reading Sampung. Like, that's a funny name. I'm like looking, bro, and then I'm like, what? Bro, this whole, oh my God, dude. I might be slow for real.
Wing had collapsed completely, leaving the north wing standing alone like a 5-story giant cliff. This remaining structure was visibly unstable. Seoul Mayor Choi Pyong-yeol, the city official responsible for coordinating this emergency response, faced a decision that had no good answer. Another partial collapse could kill rescuers working inside.
Oh my God!
Parts of the rescue operation suspended. Expectedly, families and friends of people still trapped inside erupted in protest outside the site. Demonstrations formed in the thousands. They refused to accept the decision, and they made enough noise that the authorities could not ignore them.
Hold on. So them niggas is evil too. I mean, I get the dilemma, but you was mean to tell me you was gonna let everybody die? I mean, come on, man. You know what's crazy? He would not have said that if his mama was up in that rubble. You know he wouldn't have said that. He would have said, y'all gotta keep on digging. I don't care if it fall on you. Like, come on, man. See, them people is evil, bro. I'm telling you.
Collapse had also reached beyond the building itself. Cars in the underground garage had been crushed under the falling structure. The shock had cracked the walls of nearby apartment buildings and caused damage to hundreds.
That reminds me, bro. Like on some like, okay, this is on some philosophical shit. So just give me a minute, bro. He said this: I am Alexander the Great. Ask for any favor and I will grant it. Then the homeless man said, "Move, you are blocking my sunlight."
Of surrounding businesses. The scale of what had happened was becoming visible block by block. Faced with public pressure, Mayor Choi and city officials gave in. The rescue continued. Engineers were called in to stabilize the still standing ruins with guy cables, tying sections of the building to prevent further collapse. Slowly, carefully, rescuers went back in.
Wait, hold on. So you had this ability. You had the ability to do this, but you were going to let all them people die and not get any help? Wow. That nigga's evil. Bro, like, what? Bro, oh my, bro, hold on. I'm finna get mad, bro.
As many people trapped under the rubble as possible. Unfortunately, the operation was disorganized. It took authorities close to an hour to establish a coordinated disaster response. Police failed to set up adequate barriers around the site, allowing civilians and reporters to move freely through the rubble, making it harder for emergency crews to reach those still trapped, and harder still to hear anything beneath the noise. Back in the basement, Lee Sun-min was physically unharmed, but every exit was sealed. She had no choice but to just sit in complete darkness. Hours passed, breathing dust, listening to the sounds of the ruins settling around her.
Bro, breathing dust? Ooh, respiratory system gone after this. Might come back with pneumonia.
No way to know whether anyone was coming or if the rumble around her might cave in at any moment. On another level, near an escalator by the central hall, Choi Myung-suk had made it through the initial collapse with his life intact. In the pitch darkness around him, he could hear two women nearby. Both were badly hurt. Neither could see him, and he couldn't see them. The first woman was a 25-year-old store employee. Though they couldn't see each other, they tried to encourage one another. But Choi could hear her voice weakening with every word. Eventually, she stopped speaking. The other voice was
You know, I just realized, okay, obviously if this happened today, it would be super scary, but it wouldn't be as bad because everybody walks around with their iPhone, bro, and we all have flashlights on our phones. You feel me? So it wouldn't be in pitch black, but like, I don't know.
Older, heavy with grief, she called desperately for her children, her voice trembling from both fear and the pain of serious injuries. Choi heard her frantic pleas for hours until she too stopped. Outside, through the night of June 29th and into the following day, rescuers began using cranes and heavy machinery with caution, lifting massive slabs of concrete and steel and setting them aside piece by piece. And even after over a day of nonstop work, the site looked almost unchanged from above. The same mountain of compressed floors, the same rising dust, the same crews moving carefully across surfaces that were still not fully stable. Then, at 8:57 p.m. on July 1st, a full 2 days after the collapse, the first trapped survivors were found. Rescuers reached a basement dressing room that had remained mostly intact. 24 cleaning staff were pulled out alive. That same evening, crews broke through to the section of the basement where Lee Sun-min had been trapped and brought her out alongside another survivor.
Okay, she made it out.
However,
okay, cool.
The situation after those 3 days grew darker. 3 days is the maximum that most people can survive without water in hot weather.
Oh my God! They were 3 days? Bro, 3 days? Dude. Okay, and we're in Korea too, so it ain't like America. If this happened in America, we'd be all right. You know what I'm saying? We got some extra weight. I can last with no food. Shit, you feel me? But no water is crazy though. That's the part that's crazy. But see, this happened in Korea. Everybody thin and fit, bro. Like, you don't got no 3 days away without food over here.
Were being recovered now. And so, the mission shifted. The heavy equipment would now be used more aggressively to clear out the remaining debris, since they believed there was no one left alive to be harmed underneath. But they were wrong. On day 4, the sounds of the machinery working above were the first things Yu Ji-hwan could remember hearing after the collapse.
Oh my
For the
God!
past 3 days, her
Bro. Oh, imagine you're under the rubble and there's a machine picking up rubble? Yeah. GG, bro.
mind had been fighting with itself. Sometimes she felt like she could survive this, but other days she believed she was going to die. When it rained, she tried to drink the water, but it tasted like rust.
Oh my
but
God.
Then, the pressure from the heavy equipment above made the rubble around her legs collapse onto them. Pain coursed through her. As time went, the rubble above her started to sink closer and closer to her.
Ooh.
She feared for her life. and she feared that
Did
her
she make it
mother
out?
would never know what happened to her. 6 more days passed without a living person found. Officials began shifting the operation from rescue to recovery. Many
Please
on
tell me she
site
made
were
it out.
sure no one else could possibly still be alive. But in the dark beneath the rubble, Choi found rainwater pooling in the concrete around him. He drank it to keep himself alive in hopes that someone would find him before it was too late.
Oh my
Then,
God.
9.5 days after the collapse, at around 9 a.m. on July 9th, a construction crew could not believe it as they pulled Choi alive from the wreckage. 1 day later, Yu Ji-hwan, still alive, could hear the workers' radio.
Oh my, so she's still
They called
alive.
out asking if someone was there. She screamed to them, but they didn't hear her.
No!
So she banged on the rubble. The chatter turned to excitement as they confirmed someone was alive. She saw the hole opening and felt the relief that she would be able to tell her mother what had happened to herself. They pulled her out.
Bro, she lost her voice? Oh my God, are you about to tell me she lost her voice?
And she was rushed to the hospital. These rescues were miracles in their own right, and they didn't expect to find anyone else after that, especially not 17 days after the building fell. But
What?
That's when rescuers found 19-year-old Park Seung-hyun alive. She thought only 5 days had passed and asked for water. With only a scratch on her leg, the doctors believe she survived so long because she was semi-conscious and may have drunk rainwater to sustain herself.
Wow.
She just didn't remember. She was the last survivor found alive in the wreckage. By then, the search had stretched on for more than 2 weeks. After that, the operation recovered only the dead. When it finally ended, 502 people were dead. 502 lives. Workers, shoppers, parents, children crushed beneath a building that never should have been allowed to stand in the first place.
Dude, that is crazy.
It took the government 20 days to officially designate the Sampung site a special disaster zone, which finally unlocked emergency funding,
And please tell me it unlocked the ability to send the chairman I'm sorry, I forgot his name, to jail, bro. Send him to jail, please.
resources, and legal authority for rescue operations. But by that time, there was no one alive to rescue. 9 days after that, the National Assembly formed a special investigation committee to determine what had caused the collapse and who was responsible. Korean lawmakers had already been hearing theories. Earlier that year, 2 gas explosions had struck other parts of Seoul, so some pointed to a similar cause here. Others suggested an act of terrorism, raising the possibility of North Korean involvement. But investigators quickly ruled both theories out. Fires in the rubble came from the gasoline of crushed cars in the underground garage, and the footage of the collapse showed the building fell straight down, not outwards, proving there was no explosion. The focus soon turned to an investigation into the mall's construction. The evidence was not difficult to find. Columns were undersized, rebar was insufficient, escalator holes had been cut through the structural slabs. The building had been carrying far more weight than it was ever designed to hold, on a structure that had been altered, overloaded, and inadequately inspected from the moment it was built. The day after the collapse, Chairman Lee Jun and his son Lee Han-sung, who was the store's president, were arrested.
Thank you!
Their photographs circulated on every Korean news channel for days. They became, in a very short period, 2 of the most infamous people in the country. Yet, even after being detained, Lee Jun showed almost no remorse. In
What did I say, bro? Just evil as hell. Like, I'm telling you, they're evil. Bro.
interviews, he said almost nothing about the dead.
Wow.
He only expressed concern for how much money he lost. Lee Jun was charged with negligent homicide
what?
for the consequences
Thank
of his
you.
reckless actions. Prosecutors also traced the disaster back to a wider web of corruption, arguing
Bro, send them to jail for life. Twice.
that bribed officials had helped illegal design changes pass the inspection. As a result, Lee Jun was also charged with bribery. Prosecutors sought a 20-year sentence. Eventually, he would be convicted of criminal negligence and sentenced to 10 years and 6 months in prison. On appeal, that sentence was reduced to 7 years and 6 months. Meanwhile, his son, Han Sang-lee, was jailed for 7 years for corruption and accidental homicide. Part of the Seocho local government approval system was found to be corrupt. City officials were also punished for illegally approving the building's designs.
Right.
Lee Chung-woo, a district
Oh my
administrator,
God. You know how the buildings got approved? Money. You know he paid them people off. I just thought about that. Yeah. See what? And it brings me back to why we can blame all the problems on billionaires, bro. They have so much money they can do whatever they want. And a lot of the times, they don't have the best decisions. You feel me? I'm not gonna lie. So
connected to the area received 3 years in prison for bribery. Former Siocho Ward Chief Huang Xiaomin was also convicted of taking bribes and received a 10-year sentence. But for most South Koreans, the punishments still felt painfully small compared with the scale of the disaster.
Oh yeah.
A month after the collapse, with bodies still being identified and families still searching for the missing, the Lee family offered their entire wealth as compensation to the victims. For many of the bereaved, even this did not come close to feeling like justice.
I mean, damn, what the fuck? What else you want? What else can we do? You want to go there? Oh
Lee
my
Han-san,
God.
Lee Jun's son and the president of the Sampung Mall, left the business world entirely after his release and became a
Wait, he got released? Okay, nah, I'm mad now. Nah, I understand now. Okay. How did he get released? I thought they were arrested.
Christian evangelist in Mongolia. Lee Jun did not live long after leaving prison. He died on October 4th, 2003, after suffering from diabetes, high blood pressure, and kidney disease.
Wow.
He had only served roughly half his already reduced sentence. Most importantly, the collapse forced changes.
And how was it reduced? You know why. Money. Come on, bro.
That
Ridiculous.
extended far beyond the Sampung Group. In the months that followed, South Korea introduced new disaster management laws and began building a more centralized emergency response system. And when the investigators looked more broadly at the country's building stock, they found that 14% of high-rise structures were deemed unsafe,
Wow.
84% required repair work, and only 2% fully met safety standards. Sampung was merely a visible consequence of a rotted system infected with bribery and negligence. The site itself was eventually cleared and redeveloped. A luxury apartment complex now stands where the department store once did.
So you gonna live where 502 people died? Nah, I don't think I will. I don't think I would live there. I'm not gonna lie. And them people probably died mad, bro. Like, imagine, I'm gonna die mad. If I died like that, I'd be mad as hell. What you mean? I'm shopping at your mall. You didn't close it down, bro? Like, what? Oh, we got it, bro. Nah, I'm gonna hunt you forever. I'm gonna hunt you forever, bro.
In the end, Sampung was not a freak accident. It was the final consequence of greed at every stage of the building's life, during its design, its construction, its illegal modifications, and finally, in the decision to not evacuate when the danger was impossible to ignore. 502 people died because one man put profit ahead of human life for years. Another 937 barely made it out alive and were—
You know what's crazy though? How is he a billionaire? How did he get so much money? Because it's so stupid. Even if he was all about the profit, why would you cheap out on the building foundational structure? Like, why is that, bro? Come on, man. I don't understand that,
forced
bro.
to live on with a horrifying trauma. 30 years is a long time, long enough for a collapsed department store to be replaced by a luxury apartment complex.
No, it ain't. Hey, if you dead, you dead forever. Like, come on. I got all the time in the world to hunt you. Oh no, are you living where I died? Oh, come. Oh, watch it. I'm gonna fly up through your ceilings. I'm gonna fly around your kitchen, up in your refrigerator. You open your refrigerator, I'll pop out on you, bro. I don't. Okay, I ain't
But the
gonna lie.
people of
What
South
am I
Korea
talking
still
about?
haven't moved on from the tragedy that unfolded on June 29, 1995. Choi Myung-suk, Yoo Ji-hwan, and Park Sung-hyun later came to be known as the last survivors. All
What?
three carried what happened to them for the rest of their lives. Yoo Ji-hwan spent nearly a decade afraid to use the subway, haunted by the memory of being trapped underground. Choi Myung-suk struggled with nightmares and sleepless nights, replaying screams and falling concrete. Yet over
Yeah.
time, he eventually returned to working life and directed his career toward construction safety, along with—
Damn, you working in construction after all that? I don't know. I feel like after all that, I would have had to get on welfare or disability or something. I need some free money. I'm not working again. If I go to something like that, nah, bro. I can't. How am I gonna go back to work?
Park Sung-hyun, these final survivors formed a bond that would last a lifetime, connected by the memory of what almost ended them and how, by a miracle, they still got out alive. But not everyone found closure. Families like that of Lee Gyun-suk never learned her fate. Her family filed missing person reports in the weeks that followed and contacted every available agency,
What?
but no answers ever came. For them, and so many other families, June 29th, 1995 remains an open wound.
That's
Every
sad,
year, on
man.
the anniversary, families gather at a memorial tower and honor the memories of the lost loved ones. Recently, the dead were remembered on the 30th anniversary in 2025 at the Sampung Disaster Memorial Tower in Mahun Citizens Forest, where bereaved families gathered and laid out 502 pink pinwheels across the ground, one for each person who did not come home. If you found this video...
That was crazy. That was actually a really crazy story, bro. Jeez. Like the video, man. Subscribe to join the Zoom Army. If you want to see more stuff like this, let me know in the comments below. Y'all have a good day, man. We out of here.